Metaphysical. Dr. Johnson's observation in the life of Cowley, 1779, that about the beginning of 17th century appeared a race of writers that may be termed the physical poets, gave currency to a label that is convenient though imprecise. Before Johnson, Dryden had remarked in 1693 that Donne's love poetry affects the metaphysics, and in Donne's own lifetime, William Drummond of Hawthornden complained of a new poetical fashion from metaphysical ideas and scholastic quiddities. The 20th century interest in this race of writers, which after Donne includes Herbert, Crashaw, Vaughan, and Marvell, was prompted chiefly by H.J.C. Grierson's anthology Metaphysical Lyrics and Poems of the 17th Century, 1921, and by T.S. Eliot's essay The Metaphysical Poets, or originally a review of that anthology. Modern admiration for the intellectual agility and stylistic complexity of this poetry, for its analytical and ironic modes, makes a curious contrast with the disparaging overtones originally attached to a term metaphysical but the modern rediscovery of the metaphysicals was part of a reaction to the romantic tradition of 19th century poetry, and T.S. Eliot's critical interest was closely related to the modern qualities of his own poetry in that period. As Grierson pointed out, to call these poets the school of Donne or metaphysical poets may easily mislead if one takes either phrase in too full a sense. Direct imitation of Donne is not the main feature of most metaphysical poetry, nor is it metaphysical in the sense of being philosophical. It is essentially the poetry of wit in the 17th century sense of wit as the capacity to recognize similarity in disparity and to combine playfulness with seriousness. Thus, the metaphysical conceit, of which the best known example is Donne's comparison of two lovers to a pair of compasses in a valediction for forbidding mourning, turns upon a surprising and ingenious anthology between apparently unrelated areas of experience. It is produced not by the arbitrariness of free association or the irrational process of the unconscious mind, but by the alertness of a mind accustomed to think in terms of correspondence and to reason by anthology. In this respect, the metaphysic underlying metaphysical poetry is a traditional but by then obsolescent conception of an ordered universe in which correspondence were held to exist between all planes of being. The metaphysical conceit of which Dr. Johnson said the most heterogeneous ideas are yoked by violence together, characteristically forms part of the ingenuously paradoxical argument in which immediacy of feeling is apprehended through conceptual analogies rather than in sensory images. Deconstruction refers to a philosophical activity initiated by Jacques Derrida in France. The first major publications appeared in the late 1960s. It is a critique of concepts and hierarchies which, according to Derrida, are essential to traditional criteria of certainty, identity, and truth, but which nevertheless achieve their status only by repressing and forgetting other elements, which thus become the unthought and sometimes unthinkable of Western philosophy. Derrida, for following Nietzsche and Heidegger, tries to expose and explain this partiality, which he calls logocentrism. But both aspects of the name, the facts of being centered and of the logos as center, are significant. Logos is a Greek term that can specifically mean word, but also carries implications of rationality and wisdom in general, and is sometimes reified as a cosmic intellectual principle. Early Christianity, in its drive to contain and supplant principle, Early Christianity, in its drive to contain and supplant classical philosophy, adopted logos for the world of God, that thus and annexing the principle of wisdom to the creative divine utterance, as is the fourth gospel. God is the only self sufficient being. His word, as both a source and standard of meaning, is the only self sufficient discourse. The Logos cast a long shadow. A whole series of preferences is seen to derive nostalgically from its value judgments. Speech as an unmediated expression is privileged in relation to writing, which appears as a suspect supplement to the authenticity of utterance, a distinction already evident in Greek thought, a desire for self sufficiency for the unqualified and unmediated shows itself in attitudes to meaning, in the search for absolute knowledge or original truth or determinate significance, and in attitudes to existence in search for unified being or a self knowing reflexive consciousness. It is as if the urge of every entity, signified or existent, is to be present in itself in a way that makes it self confirming and self sufficient. Presence is thus a prime value for logocentrism, which itself forms a matrix of every idealism and its various systems, which function as centrism of whatever kind of attempts to delimit realms of security in which the proliferating play of meaning is closed by the presence of center as guarantee of signification. What rotten luck for me. We have had a jolly time here at Bob Barguet. Come on in to Pamplona. We can play some bridge there, and there's going to be a damned fine fiesta. I would like to. Awfully nice of you to ask me. I would best stop on here, though. I know I have not much more time to fish. You want those big ones in the Irati? I said, I do, you know. There are enormous trout there. I would like to try them once more. Do stop over another day. Be a good chap. We are really have to get into town, I said. Wow, what a pity. After breakfast, Bill and I were sitting warming in the sun on the bench out in front of the into and taking it over. I saw a girl coming up the road from the center of the town. She stopped in front of us and took a telegram out of the leather wallet that hung beside her skirt. Por ustedes. I know at it. The address was Barnes Barguet. Yes, it is for us. She bought out a book for me to sign. I gave her a couple of coppers. The telegram was in Spanish. Vengo fujujueves con. I handed it to Bill. What does the word cone mean? He asked. When what a lazy telegram, I said. He could not send 10 words for the same price. I came Thursday. That gives you a lot of dope, doesn't it? It gives you all the hope that's of interest to Cone. We are going in anyway, I said. There's no use trying to move Brett and Mike out here and back before the fiesta. Should we answer it? We might as well, said Bill. There's no evidence for us to be snooty. We talked up to the post office and asked for telegraph blank. What will we say? Bill asks, arriving to tonight. Arrive tonight. We paid for the message and walked back to the inn. Harris was there, and three of us walked up to uh, Roncesvalles. We went through the monastery. It's a remarkable place, Harris said. When we came out, but you know, I am not much of those sort of places. Me either, Bill said. It's a remarkable place, though, Harry said. I wouldn't have not have been seen. I would be been intending coming up each day. It isn't the same as fishing, though, is it? Bill asked. He liked Harris. I say not. We were standing in front of the old chapel of the monastery. Isn't that a pub across the way? Had Harris asked. Oh, do my eyes deceive me? It has the look of a pub, Bill said. It looks to me like a pub, I said. I say, said Harris, let's on utilize it. He had taken up utilizing from Bill. He had bought water of wine piece. Harry would not let us spray. He talked Snehashish quite well, and the innkeeper would not take out money. I don't know what it means to me to have you chaps here. We have a great time, Harris. Harris was a little light. I say, really, you don't know how much it means. I have had much fun into water. We'll fish together again sometime. Don't you forget it, Harris. We have had such a good quality time. Instead, another bottle around. What does another bottle around? Julie got the idea, said Julie. This is mine, said Bill, nor does he think it. I wish you'd let me pray for it. It does give me a pleasure. To year 2000, uh, this is going to give pleasure, Bill said. The innkeeper brought to the fourth bottle. We had kept the end glasses. Uh, had Harris lifted his glass, I say, you know this violet. I say, you know, no, this video utilize well. Bill slapped him on the back. Good old Harris, I say. You know, my name isn't really. It's Wilson Harris. All one time with a with a hyphen, you know. Good old Wilson Harris. Bill said, we can use. Uh, We can call you Harris because we are so fond of you. I say, Burns, you don't know what this all means to me. Come on and utilize another glass, I said. Be real, really, Barney's beams, you can't know that that's all. Drink up, Harris. We walked about back down the road from Roncesvalles and Harris between us. We had lunch at the inn and Paris where was to the bus. He gave us this child and with his I opened mine and there were a dozen files in it. Harris had them himself. He tied all those files. I say, Harris, began. No, no, he said. He was climbing down from the bus. They are not for first-rate flies at all. I only thought if you finish them sometime, it might be remind you of what a good one. The bus started. Harris told me stood in front of the post office. He waved as we started along the road. He turned and walked back toward the river. Sir, wasn't that had Harris nice? I think this really did have a good idea. Had Harris, you bet he did. I wish you'd come into Pamplona. He wanted to fish. Yes, you couldn't tell how frequency would uh, mix with each other anyway. I suppose not. We got into Pamplona late in the 19th century, and the bus stopped in front of the Hotel Monomaya. Out of the plaza, there were stringing electric lights were stood light the plaza for the fiesta. A few kids came up when the bus stopped, and a custom bus opened their bundles on the sidewalk. He never went into the hotel and on the stairs, and I am Monotoa. He shook hands with the smiling in his eh, embarrassed way. Big two-hearted reefer one. The train went on up the track out of sight around one of the hills of burnt timber. Nick sat down on the bundle of canvas and bidding the baggage man had pitched out of the door of the baggage car. There was no town, nothing but the rails and the burnt over country. The 13 salons that had lined the one street of Sene had not left a trace. The foundations of the mansion house hotel stuck up above the ground. The stone was chipped and split by the fire. It was all that was left on the town of Seni. Even the surface had not burned down the road. Nick looked at the burnt over stretch of hillside where he expected to find the scattered houses of the known town, and then walked down the railroad track to the bridge over the river. The river was there. It swirled against the log piles of the bridge. Nick looked down into the clear brown water colored from the pebbly bottom and watched the trout keeping themselves steady in the current with wavering fins. As he watched them, they changed their position by quick angles, only to hold steady in the fast water again. Nick watched them a long time. He watched them holding themselves with their noses into the current, many trout in deep, fast moving water, slightly distorted as he watched far down through the glassy convex surface of the pool. its surface pushing and swelling smooth against the resistance of the long driven piles of the bridge. At the bottom of the pool were the big trout. Nick did not see them at first, then he saw them at the bottom of the pool. Big trout looking, big trout looking to hold themselves on the gravel bottom in a varying mist of gravel and sand, raised in spots by the current. Nick looked down into the pool from the bridge. It was a hot day. A kingfisher flew up the stream. It has a long time since Nick had looked into the stream and seen trout. They were very satisfactory. As the shadows of the kingfisher moved up the stream, a big trout shot upstream in a long angle, only this shadow marking the angle, then lost his shadow as he came. Uh, he, he went back into the ocean stream of under the surface. His shadow seemed to float down the stream with the current, unresisting to his post under the bridge, where he tightened facing up inside into the current. Nick's heart tightened as the trout moved. He felt all the old feeling. He turned and looked down the stream. It stretched away, pebbly bottomed with shallows and big boulders, and a deep pool as it curved away round the floor of the staff. Nick walked back up the ties to where his pack lay in the cinders beside the railway track. He was happy. He adjusted the pack harness round the bundle, pulling straps tight, slung the pack on his back, got his arms through the shoulder straps, and took some of the pull off his shoulders by leaning his forehead against a wide band of line. Still, it was too heavy. It was much too heavy. He had his leather rod case in his hand and leaning forward to keep the weight of the pack high on his shoulders. He walked through the road that paralleled the railway track, leaving the burned down behind in the heat, and then turned off round a hill and a high, fire-scarred hill on either side onto a road, then went back into the country. He walked along the road, feeling the ache from the pull of the heavy truck. The road climbed steadily. It was hard work walking uphill. His muscles ached and the day was hot, but Nick felt happy. He felt had he felt he had left everything behind. The need for thinking. He felt he had left the need for thinking. He need to write and another other deeds. It was all back of him from the time he had got gotten down off the train and the baggage man had thrown his pack out of the open air door. Things had been different. Seni was burned, the country was burned over and changed. It did not matter, it could not all be burned. He knew that. He hiked along the road, sweating in the sun, climbing to cross the river range of hills that separated the railway from the pine plains. The road rang on, dipping occasionally, but always climbing. Nick went on up. Finally, the road, after being parallel to the burned hillside, reached the top. Nick leaned back against a stump and slipped out of the pack harness. Ahead of him, as far as he could see, was the pine plain. The burnt country wrapped off at the left with the range of hills on ahead islands of dark pine trees rose out of the plains, for off to the left was the line of the river. Nick followed it with his eye and caught a glimpse of the water in the sun,